Okay, at the end of this video, if you stick to the end, I'll give you all the names of the spices that I put in here. There's a number of them. And I just gotta say, the aroma in this house from this combination of spices, should I say, is amazing. Bill Nye. Should I say? Change the kitchen. So stay tuned all the way to the very end, and I will give you all the ingredients, all the spice combinations right at the very end of this, along with my end screens of some other things that you can see. And stay tuned. Container, and come over here and fill them up with some water, and snap like that, and then I let them smoke. Did I say smoke? These are some smoking beans. And so I'll let them set for a couple of hours to absorb that water. Put about the same amount of. So when I put the water in there, you gotta have quite a bit more water than beans, because they'll absorb that. You get less farting afterwards. Gaseous. Not trying to make this sound stinky. So I got all these bowls. These bowls, got them at a dollar store, I think. Got a whole bunch of them. They're just for, doing this kind of thing. And I'll do the same thing with the blackberry beans. And I don't do that with the lentils. The lentils are actually they're like a natural thickening agent. So when I put the lentils in, I don't put them in the same time with the kidney beans. I start the kidney beans first and let those cook for about, an hour or so. And then I'll add my black beans, and then I'll add some meats if I want to, and cook the meats in it. Turkey, chicken, whatever I got, if I have any at all. And I don't always put meat in my soups, but sometimes I do, because it's important that not everybody's the same. So some people need meats for their functionality of their personal epidemiological responses of all their cells and the way that they function optimally. But not everybody's that way. That's why it's important to know ourselves. Some people they get lots of fats, and they do the best. They can live a long, healthy life. Some people get the same amount of fats and all that kind of same diet. They die early. Yeah, vascular disease, kidney disease, liver disease, heart disease, all kinds of things. So it's about knowing ourselves. And not too much down the road here, we're going to have the ability to take one's genetic markers and see exactly what their diet should be for them on an hourly basis or minute by minute. This is what you should eat at this time, because your cells are needing this kind of thing at that particular time. Or when you work out, you need to do this kind of thing and eat this kind of thing. We're getting there. We're not there yet, but I watch all these dietitian shows, and when I watch the quote unquote ethnicity of all the studies, the thing that I see that's missing is individual markers. One size doesn't fit all, right? One form of diet or eating lifestyle is good for one, but can kill the other one, like early. Some people can eat peanuts and thrive, and their body just really reacts well and healthy. And other people eat a peanut, can't handle the protein in the peanut, and they don't make it, even as children. So even babies. So it's about understanding the individual genetic markers, and then us going to get what's called lipoprotein test to see. I monitor my blood work once a year. I don't go to a doctor to get a checkup. I have to, ordinary for me to get a blood test and order one through the VA, I have to schedule an appointment, because they won't just do a blood lab without me seeing a doctor. So what happens, I go get my blood work done, and I get the results before I go to the doctor, and I look at my blood lab results. I determine how I'm doing, how my biomarkers are doing, and whether I should decrease something or increase something, or whatever, I make that decision. So when I go into the doctor's office and they're trying to say certain things to me, I say, not really, and here's why. And they're going, huh? What? Example, in December, this past December, I did the lipoprotein, had that done. And I went into the doctor, and she was telling me my vitamin D is too high. I says, well, I'm going into November. I just came out of the summer, and so my vitamin D is going to be high because I've been out in the sun a lot all summer long. Not only that, I take a vitamin D supplement. So I'm going into the winter with an elevated vitamin D at that time, but through the winter that's going to drop naturally. I says, right now I like my D right where it is, a little elevated going into the winter. She goes, what? And then she smiles. She got it, right? The doc got it. And so, yeah, it's like bears who eat a lot of food before winter. They store up that stuff and then they make it through the winter just laying there, right? Well, that's how I perceive vitamin D. And other elements. The vitamin D is just an example. So I will prep all this stuff here, and I'll show you how I put it all together. This is going to soak for a couple of hours, and I'll see you as I'm ready to assemble this. Please subscribe, thumbs up, helps the channel. This is a baby. I'm like a little infant that's still drooling down the sides of its mouth when it comes to podcasting, but I'm getting it, you know. It's starting to flow. So help me with this channel. Help me. And I got so many cool things coming down the pike. And I look at the latest technology. In other words, I evaluate the latest empirical information that's coming out that's still in research. So these things are still being researched, ongoing. But I'm able to look at the ongoing progression of the studies, right? Dietitian studies. I'm able to follow along in the labs, right? They post certain things, and I evaluate where they're at, where the markers are, and I say, not yet. But this makes sense here. I'm going to start doing that now because the analytical data is starting to show some precursors to that this is beneficiary. So I'll change certain things. I don't get locked up in anything. I go with the flow of today, and I engage in what I view as a projection of tomorrow and or probabilities based on the highest level of empirical information that's available to whatever topic they may be. Weird, right? I think everybody's going to be that way eventually. Down the road. I think that's the projection. So tune in. I'll continue this process. This is take one. Cut. I'm back. Robin Hood. Look at that. Pointing. So what I'm going to do next with making my soup, take out some meats. Some chicken this time. I don't add a lot of meat, just enough to, I feel like I'm getting enough protein in there. And my cholesterol level in December was in the normal range. It never has been in my lifetime. Without medications, right? Doctor had no comment about it. Just my vitamin D. Too high. I said, no, it's not. And here's why. And they go, Doctor, you could tell that epiphany look on someone's face, like when you say something that sounds reasonable and rational and probably correct. Oh, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw all my vegetables in these trays and all my other things that I'm gonna throw in. I've got pre-made spices. Probably add some chili powder to that. And so I fill up all these trays, and I got my beans soaking. And the big ones, and the lentils will go in fresh. And so my next clip I'll show you all this stuff filled out. Okay, as I move along here, tell me, does that look like butter? Looks like butter, huh? It's fat like butter. From chicken. I put it in cubes, and I let the fat, when the fat settles to the top as it's freezing, I take it and I chop it off, put it in a container, go bury it in the specific area of my garden, and later on use it as fertilizer. There's certain microbes that eat that also give off certain nutrients that the roots of plants like. Anyway, so cut off the fat, of all those things. Usually I do that before I freeze it, but that one I was in a hurry. I was just throw them in here and worry about it later. Well, now it's later. It's like pay me now or pay me later. Well, I paid later. Right? So here's my ingredients that's going to go into my soup. And so what we got here is we've got red beans, black beans, garden tomatoes. All this stuff is from my garden except for the meats and beans and the rice. But I got, for sweetener, I'm going to be using grapes, also from my vine, and peach natural sweetener. I'm going to be throwing some blackberries in there, some zucchini, and the lentils. So the lentils, which is the beans and the rice and the chicken fat, that did not come from my garden. But that's kind of how I make a soup in general. If I have something else, I'll throw something else in there. But for the time being, but for now, so what I'll do is I'll take all these ingredients and I'll throw it in this pan, and I will have a big, huge soup. Usually that pan, I put so much stuff in there, that pan overflows and I have to grab another big pan, divvy it up. And I throw a whole bunch of spices in there. I don't know, probably 10, 12, 13, whatever spices in there, including chili powder. I like chili powder in this kind of a soup, bean soup, a legume soup. And so what happens is the lentils, when they cook after about an hour or so, they'll break down into like a paste thickener for my soup. So I add those later. So the last hour of my beans and everything cooking, I have an hour left. I'll throw in my lentils, and I won't see my lentils. It's like instead of adding starch or other thickeners, I use the lentils as my natural soup thickener. And so now I'm going to start this process, and I'll show you where I end up. Now I have added my red beans, kidney beans. I've added my chicken, and I'm going to cook that down. And then later on, as that chicken becomes cooked, I will actually pull those chunks out and then chop them into little pieces. But instead of cooking this pan and this, what I do is I time everything so everything gets cooked in one pan, right? Well, there's one ingredient I forgot earlier. So out of all those other ones that you saw, this is tomato sauce that I make. Back there and pick some tomatoes when they're in bloom, and then I bring them in and I put them right in a blender, put them in my ice trays, these things here, put them in my ice trays, and I throw them right into the freezer. And here it is, March 2025, more than a half a year later, and I got homemade tomato sauce, not in a bag, not in a can, not in a jar. So that will go in a little bit late. Well, actually, tomato sauce, lycopene, the sooner I get that in, the better. So I'll go ahead and throw that in there. And you cook that tomato, the longer you cook tomatoes, the more lycopene that's produced. Well, to a certain point, right? There's a limit in everything. Too much water will drown your brain. So just got to kind of understand the limits of the tomatoes. When that lycopene is best produced. And then got some chopped tomatoes I'll be throwing there. So, people buy those, we used to buy those tomatoes that were stewed tomatoes in a can. Oh, dang it, I just lost a chunk. Those stewed tomatoes that are in a can. Well, I just chop my tomatoes up in the summertime, and I quick freeze them on my big trays, and it'll become stewed tomatoes. Actually, I think I'll throw those in there too. I'm doing the math. What math, Jim? What you talking about, math and all that? Okay, it's not math, whatever. Engaging in the reasoning. Now my pan is already starting to, this big pan is already starting to fill up. I'm probably going to have to get out another one pretty soon. And so what I can do at this point also is add my brown rice. I pre-freeze it. You get a reduction up to 65% of glucose spikes when you freeze rice. So I freeze a whole bunch. I cook a whole bunch at once, freeze it on flat trays, and I break it up, and I put it in containers, and I take out the amount that I need. I just say, oh, I only need that much. So I take out a whole bag of something, and then it going to waste because I didn't need that much. I don't throw any food away, man. Zero. None. So I'm going to throw that rice in there. And so, stir it up, little toddler, stir it up. Ah, yeah. Zucchini. Yeah, I think I'll hold off on that. Now I got this peach and grapes. I use that for a natural sweetener. Get the fiber out of it. I keep the fiber. I puree the same way. I don't peel the skin out. Goes in a blender. Goes in ice trays. I get the amount as I want. Sometimes I just want 1 cube for something specific. See, I'm making some cocoa or something. Real cocoa, homemade cocoa. You know, the 100% cocoa you buy. And I want to sweeten that up. Grab me a little cube of these grapes are like sugar cubes, man. I tell you what, I never tasted such sweet grapes in my life. It was like biting into a real sugar cube. Like, what? My brother bit into one. He goes, oh! His face puckered up like, hey. So not only that, but they're loaded in polyphenols and fiber, and so I keep it all. I use it all. Fiber is a good thing. There's a lot of things on the podcast they say, don't do this, do this, don't do that, do this. So what I did is I went into the biological chemistry aspect of dietitian. And I looked at what happens on the cellular level inside the human body when we do this and don't do that and do this, too much of this and not enough of that. And so I make up my own mind. And I chose to identify my cellular structure because mine's personal, just like yours and everybody else's. And so I base everything on my own response to things. I don't use any deodorant, no. I don't take showers or baths. I just clean up when I'm dirty, get something dirty. I usually wash my face every day, once or twice, because the air, there's just stuff in the air. I've taken a white cloth, just being out, and I wash my face in the morning, just being out doing normal stuff, not even out in the garden, it could be winter, and I go to wash my face again, and that white towel is not white anymore. Just the dust that settles everywhere, it also settles on us. But if you got clothes on, of course, that ain't going to happen, plus your clothes will pick it up, or... Anyway, but I do use what's called a bidet. I don't know, what's a bidet? What are you saying today? Well, bidet is something... So when I say I didn't take a shower, it's a little bit of a misnomer, a little bit. A bidet is a shower. It's a unit that sits, that pops up underneath the toilet, and so every time you use the bathroom, it cleans all that area. That gets it up to several times a day. So my hygiene, I don't use toilet paper. That, to me, is not hygienic. That's just smearing the problem. You get most of it, but I know it's going to stay. But the shower, the bidet, it rinses it all. Water is a natural emulsifier, right? And that bidet is a power spur, so I turn on too hot. I go, what the? Oh, baby, that's too much pressure. So the bidet cleans the whole area, right? Front and back. And so, I'm cleaner than most, probably. I do not smear that stuff around anywhere on my body. Whether it be down there or anywhere else. No smearing. It's like a smear campaign. No. So, I shifted from toilet paper to the bidet. I gone European style. I think most of Europeans, that's what they use is bidets. They don't use toilet paper. Right? Toilet paper is not hygienic. It's just smearing everything around. Just because you can't see it on the toilet paper doesn't mean it ain't still there. That stuff is invisible when it gets down to its smaller particles. Can't see it, but it's still there. Yeah. It's all still there. All the bacteria, all the viruses and everything, it's still there. Toilet paper don't take that away, but the power sprayer does. It can't. Yeah. Power sprayer, excellent way for hygiene. Bidet. So I'm going to let all this cook down, and I will continue on this whole process here. I'll see you like that. Okay. Now I make a thick soup on purpose, and here's why I do a thick. It's pretty thick. I gotta come in here and stir this fairly frequently, about every 5-10 minutes. Stir it up so the heavier, whatever is heavier, doesn't settle to the bottom and overcook. Right. So it's a maintenance kind of cooking process. Right. So but my soup is ready. Right. So you can see that thickness there. Just to bring you a little bit closer now, baby. So you can see it's a little bit closer. You can see the thickness of that soup. And I want my finished soup like that. And the main reason why is because when I go to freeze it, I don't want a bunch of liquid. So if I want to thin it out, I can add water anytime, right? But this is going to be, by the time this is actually all said and done here, this is going to be really thick. And that's how I'm going to freeze it. And if I want it thinned down, like I said, I'll thin it down. I got some chicken that I just threw in the pot towards the beginning with the spices. So the spices marinated into the chicken. I bet you it's going to taste really good. Well, I know it is. I've been down this road a few times. I know what to expect. So, yeah, I'm gonna leave all the spices. The name of the spices that I use. I think I use probably close to a dozen. I think certain kinds of combinations with certain amounts. Not too much of this spice. But I just go by ear, you know. Hello, spice. Can you hear me now? I play it by how I feel at the moment. What do I want this spice? What kind of dominant spice do I want? I want this to be or oregano dominant a little bit, or rosemary dominant, or basil dominant. What do I want? So when I go to add my spices, I'll choose what dominant spice I want to have the most flavor. But I'll also add all my other ones, like I use chili powder and stuff like that. Do I want this to be really a chili flavor? Okay, I'll add lots of chili flavor, more than all the rest of the spices, but I'll still add all the other ones. Anyway, it's not science, right? Well, maybe cooking science, maybe an art, kind of an art you just kind of pick up over the years. Okay, well, you enjoy. Sometimes I'll go out there, well, I probably will go out there and pick some chives and sprinkle some fresh stuff on there, some chives or some onion leaf or something, or not basil. Basil doesn't grow this time of year, but I could throw on some radish leaf. That's growing really good out there. Some kale. I can chop some kale up really fine, which I probably will. I might even have some left over from last night's dinner. Some kale or something from when I went out in the garden. I sure do. I guess I don't have to go out in the garden. I have some right here from last night. So I'll sprinkle this on my soup, and that'll be my fresh stuff. Cause I like to have something fresh, some sort of fresh produce or something like that on my meal. So I get those fresh enzymes that you lose when you cook, right? All right, well, please subscribe, thumbs up. I've got so many cool things like this and other things. I do beekeeping, gardening. I'm making all kinds of podcasts like that. I do a lot of construction of things for different kinds of reasons. I make my own beehives, boxes, and frames. I make my own garden boxes and all kinds of goodies, man. This is all practical stuff. This is what I do is practical stuff. It's stuff that would be advantageous for us to know. These things that I do would be advantageous for everyone to know how to do these things in the simplistic way in which I do them. I understand about the time factor, but you find that time when you're sitting down there in front of the TV for who knows how long. I'm gonna take a break. No, take the time to make your meal for the family or whatever, so that it's a healthy meal, so that everybody's going to be a lot healthier at the end. Oh, I'm going to sprinkle my kale on there, and I think this is, oh, this is dark leaf. So this is like dark leaf lettuce. So dark leaf lettuce. So it looks like some radish leaf. Okay, thumbs up, please. It's inspirational. Oh, snap. Okay, so now what I'm going to show you is what I do for storing. Now, I'm going to keep a few days for this for myself to eat fresh, and then all these here are going to be, that's probably too much. Well, each one will probably cut. So each one of these, because this is really, really thick, and I do that on purpose so that all I need is, I can take a half of one of these, add some water, a little bit of water. I can get 2 meals out of each one of these bowls. So I can, if I think ahead of time, I can take them out of the freezer and, you know, a day or so before. And so what do I got here? I probably got, I don't know, a couple dozen meals here maybe. And most of this is from, most of this stuff, well, the beans and stuff, and there was a little bit of chicken I put in there. But probably about half the calories is from my garden. And so this will be for like long-term storage. And if I'm really busy or something, I'll just, you know, grab one of these and pop it out of this thing, because I won't warm this up in this plastic. This is hard plastic for long-term storage, and so what I'll do is, that's probably enough for a couple days in there. So I'll store these long-term. Now another thing to think about is when you're going to do something like this, when it gets done freezing, if you add a little water after it's frozen, add a little water on top. Gosh, I don't know how long. It can last a long time, years probably. So just add a little water after it's frozen, add a little water on top of each one of these, and it'll keep it from getting freezer burn or anything like that, or dried out, or, well, I've never had a problem, but it was just something that just came to my head I thought I'd share. I just thought about it tonight. I says, I wonder. So I just quickly pop the tops on these babies like this. And so what do you got there? There's 8 meals there. Yeah, each one, because when I thaw these out, I'll be throwing other stuff out of my garden in with it. So I can take this, divide this. So when I thaw it out, take half one night, and I'll be throwing stuff in there. Just throwing stuff. Come over here. I'll throw you in there. Right? And so what I got? I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 14. There's 14 meals right there. Easy, if not more. I might look at that and say, you know what, I just want a little bit of that to go with these other things that, I'll put a little bit of this chili soup, mix it with something of my vegetable garden stuff, you know, maybe 50-50, so something like this could actually maybe get me 4 meals. Mix it with more of my garden stuff. Limitation is the imagination. So this will all go into my long-term storage in my freezer, and that is how I do it. Well, this anyway. Please subscribe, thumbs up, help the channel. This is a baby channel. It's still drooling from the side, laying on its back. Hasn't even began to crawl yet. But with your power, you can help make this channel run. And we can run together. Is there such thing as says birds of a feather? Something like that. Okay, here's the spices that I put in this particular soup. In this particular soup, right? I've got rosemary. I grow my own rosemary, but you can obviously get that at the store. Rosemary, garlic, chili powder, oregano, coriander, fennel. Fennel gives it a sweet aroma, right? It smells sweet, fennel. And I combine that with the coriander, and it doubles down. Right? So that and some salt, table salt. Table salt is the best because we add iodine to that, and I only eat one meal a day, and that's that. I don't have any calories before 5 o'clock, and it doesn't matter what time I get up. I don't have anything until after 5. So I have my main meal after 5, which tonight is going to be this, and then I have some mixed nuts that I buy in bulk. So I'll buy some nuts like regular peanuts that are unadulterated. It means they just came from the field. They just got the shells shaken off. And there's no salt added. There's nothing added. It's just the peanuts, right? Roasted. I buy the roasted ones. Right up through the oven. They cook them for me. And then I get some dried cranberry. Just regular. Nothing is going to be added to my food. They're just. I saw the process of all these things. My walnuts. No salts, no nothing put on my trail mix, right? And once in a while, I might sprinkle a little table salt on that because because sometimes I don't get enough salt in a day. We need a certain amount, and so yeah, that's it. So I have oregano, yeah, but you kind of think about the kind of stuff that you like, and I also grow some lemon balm. So I had thrown some lemon balm out of my freezer. I freeze my lemon balm because I noticed that it retains the smell better than drying it. When you dry it, it kind of leaches out a lot of its aroma. So I preferred my lemon balm. I freeze it on a big tray, and I put it in there, and then I take it out and put it in a big bowl, and I crumple it up really quick, put it in a container, and that's how I do my certain spices, including basil. I'll do that with basil, freeze it on a big tray, take it out real quick, put it in a bowl, and crunch it up before it starts to thaw, and then put it back in the freezer. And I think that's all for the spices on this particular thing. So we got chili powder, oregano, fennel, coriander, rosemary, table salt, and that's it for this one. But you think about anything you want. Throw dill sauce. You know what? I might throw some dill in there. Dill's a nice flavor, but I was going for a different flavor this time. So these are like my oil painting containers. This is my artistic expression of how I cook, right? Because I use all these things in there, but not all at the same time. What do I feel like, right? It's kind of what kind of painting do I want to paint today, kind of like thing. All right, you have a good day. Hope life's treating you well. Still hope it is. Really. Bye now.